In a world gone mad, only rationality and common sense can save it. It's Andrew and Jerry Save the World with your hosts, Andrew Langer and Jerry Rogers. And now, here's Andrew and Jerry.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Andrew and Jerry Save the World, episode 34, Rockin' the DC Groove. I am Andrew Langer.
Jerry Rogers.
And hey, good to see you, man. We are live. Yes. We are live from the Boyle Studios of Hillsdale College on Capitol Hill.
Yes, Hillsdale and what they do in terms of the debate, in terms of ideas. Again, what we do here on the Andrew and Jerry Save the World podcast is to talk about ideas, talk about truth. And Hillsdale is awesome for that.
That's right.
And,
yes.
I'm glad that
there are no progressives at Hillsdale. There are libertarians and conservatives.
Well, I also think that there's no prejudice in terms of bring your ideas. Let's have at it.
It's interesting. I did a radio interview yesterday talking about this. By the way, there's going to be a wide-ranging discussion here. I want to come back and start talking about DC and traffic in a second.
Oy vey.
But I did a radio interview yesterday talking about this case at Yeshiva University.
Yes.
And the issue of whether or not
we're all
Yeshiva,
Jewish now.
Yes. Well, whether or not the Yeshiva has the power to prohibit an LGBTQIA plus club.
Of course it does.
Yes, but it was one of these things where the hosts I was on didn't quite understand the nuances of the case. They didn't understand that really the issue right now, what happened with the high court last week is that the high court has finally reached a limit on what they call the shadow docket.
Right.
The idea of deciding court cases outside of the normal term. But yeah, this issue of, yes, of course they have the power. Obviously there are questions depending on how religious they really are, but go ahead, Jerry.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is that exercising your religious liberty is in the Bill of Rights.
Yes.
And again, the progressives, they're showing us in plain sight what they want to do. It's not enough to celebrate, to tolerate, to express diversity and promote diversity. They want you to go away.
Right.
So if you're a person of faith, they want your faith to die. They don't want you to practice it. And again, I say this over and over again. Some liberal communities, progressive communities, will say things like, we're spiritual. We're not really religious,
oh, yes,
right?
I guess. Oh, yeah.
But here's the thing. The progressive movement is a religious movement. And this
LGBTQIA plus
and all the rest, this is part of the religious movement of the left. And this university, founded on classic conservative, right, Jewish doctrine, should not be forced to violate their own doctrine.
I don't know what I was listening to yesterday, but I had this thought as I was driving up to DC yesterday afternoon. This idea of, we talk about objective truth, right? And a lot of discussion about gender fluidity and, all of these
right.
issues. Oh, and it was because found out yet somebody else we know, their child has decided to become trans.
Yeah, and don't tell me this isn't contagion, this isn't grooming, because we're seeing what? There was a time when a tiny percentage of the population would identify as non-binary or as bisexual or whatever gender.
The simple cross-dressers, Jerry. That's what I want to know.
But I mean, we're looking at in some communities 20-30% of the young population. And also, again, this is anecdotal. My sister told me a story on how the public school system where her kids are engaged in, there was a trans student, early grades, who came out as a trans girl.
Yes.
And spent the entire year. The school never notified parents, started using different pronouns without parent permission or even notification. And then did a year of that. The child came back this year, and was back to being a boy again.
You know, because in the end, there are times when kids go through these kinds of, and God forbid this kid had gone down and had some kind of medicine, some kind of hormone blockers, or God forbid the SNP. But here's my thought though yesterday, Jerry. See, it's good. I could reach out. I could poke Jerry in the arm as we're here. Why can't Why I sound almost like Christopher Walken. Why can't somebody come out and identify as, I'm 51 years old. Why can't I identify as 41 or 31? Why can't I identify as a cat? Why can't I sort of take Why can't I sort of take if there is no objective reality when it comes to gender? Why can't there be no objective reality? As
you make a good point.
Yeah.
Many a truth was said in jest, but I've joked around.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not joking about this. Literally, I'm thinking about these things, about the concept of objective truth, and there is none.
Here's one thing I've told friends of mine, and that is, I should go and get one of those DNA tests.
Mm-hmm.
And my family on both sides come from.
I see where you're going.
Come from Ireland,
yeah.
right? However, where the Irish originated from, we're called Black Irish because we have dark hair, and such. And my family's Black Irish. My father's black hair and he has green eyes. And so,
and you originated in China.
No, but who knows? I mean, very likely, came from Central Europe through Spain,
sure,
to Ireland. And so, does that mean I have Latino, Hispanic ancestry? Right. And if that's the case, I have a small business. Can I apply for government contracts and claim I'm a minority?
Right. This is the slippery slope that we.
Well, again, but what would happen if people just right thinking people on the right just decided that everything is a facade anyway? Gender, we can declare ourselves,
gender, race, age, even species. Yeah.
So all the affirmative action and the contracting and all the rest of it. Why can't I identify? Why can't a rich person identify as low income?
Well, this is what right. That's exactly right. This
I want the tax breaks. I want to build in this community, but according to the law, these contracts are going to mid-sized businesses. Well, I'm going to identify as a mid-sized business.
Right. This is exactly where I was going with this, which is this idea of, why do we get to pick some things and not others? I mean, because I also came back to, again, it was a 3-hour drive up to DC yesterday. Lots of things going through my mind because, again, there's also the issue of sports and a lot of this debate going on a number of these Senate races that are out there.
The Atlantic.
That was it. It was the Atlantic piece.
This month, there's a piece in the Atlantic that says we shouldn't have single-sex sports.
Right. And how is that not anti-women? This is what I come back to.
Well, again, it's anti-science. It's anti-biology. It's anti-experience.
Let's take the science.
It's anti-rational.
Let's take the science out of this.
Anti-reason.
Let's just talk about the politics of it. Right. I mean, again, there have been many, many years in which we've talked about this issue of giving girls the opportunity to play more sports, that girls need to be able to compete.
According to this learned author at the Atlantic, there is no difference in terms of competition between boys and girls.
Science, yes, and
so that's great. Let's have a football team of all boys. High school boys versus a high school football team of all girls, and let's see what happens. Okay. Let's have a wrestling team.
So that was the first. I was going down that road, which is boys wrestling girls in high school. What could possibly go wrong, right? Remember, and this is I'm going to make a joking comment here. Andy Kaufman, the comedian, performance artist, this was how he got his rocks off. Right, he invented this whole persona of the intergender wrestling champion, but it's really because he just wanted to wrestle women. That's how he got off.
Right, and look, I have experience with women in boys wrestling. Okay, because some high schools, smaller high schools, do not have the numbers,
the capacity,
and so some coaches will allow 1 or 2 or 3 women on the team. They're really,
but they're not wrestling the other boys.
But here's the thing: what happens is this: they will allow. I taught at a Catholic high school and had a very small wrestling program, and there were 3 women who were the team. What do you call the folks? The
managers.
Managers. They were team managers. But for number purposes, they would weigh in.
Sure.
And they would just forfeit their match. Oh. And for points and to win matches, it mattered to have someone weigh in. I don't know what the rules are. But I talked to the coach. He would not let the boys and girls wrestle in practice because
yes. because they're teenage boys and teenage
Exactly
girls.
right.
You don't really,
Right.
but see, then that was the other story. Remember the other story about in Dallas, the under 15 boys soccer team beating the women's national soccer
Well,
team. Yeah.
again, so that by itself
That
shows the Atlantic piece to be the kind of, again, this is religion.
Right.
They accept these things on faith. So to Andrew's point, a boys high school team beat the women's World Cup team.
Yes.
The American women's team.
the American women's national champion
Yes.
team. Yes, that's
and
exactly
a boys team of 15-year-olds beat them. Again, women and men are equal in terms of their worth, their dignity, in terms of so many areas of life. But just because we're equal doesn't mean we're the same. And this is the problem with the left. Evidence, science, data doesn't matter.
Really,
what matters is their religious religiosity.
Getting back to sort of the crazy things that people do can believe in religion. You know, it really does is sort of this adherence to faith. Let me just switch gears. Remind me, by the way, Jerry, at the end of the show, I need to talk to you about Arthur Avenue because I just had an epiphany.
Hey, at the end of the show, let's talk about Arthur Avenue.
Please, thank you.
There's my
Appreciate
reminder.
that. All right, great. I don't have any notes there. So let's shift gears because you drove in today. There is news out of DC, which is astounding to me. A bunch of roads are now like they're trying to make. Mayor Bowser is trying to make the with very few exceptions, the speed limit in the District of Columbia 25 miles an hour. For now, we know it's going to get lower. Claiming
there are certain places where there are the overpass and under tunnel where it's 15 miles.
All right. So this is my point though, and it has nothing to do with safety.
Well, of course not.
Yeah, it has everything to do with revenue. Yeah.
And here's the thing also. They're increasing the bike lanes here. They are closing off some streets to just pedestrian traffic. They've increased the use of scooters. This is a theme on the left. They are at war with mobility. This is part of the whole war against the automobile, because mobility means freedom. If you're able to drive yourself to work, drive yourself to visit family, drive yourself.
But Jerry, you can bike everywhere.
Well, no, you can't. Remember, here's the interesting thing about this. Robert Moses, my daughter and her boyfriend just recently went to go see a play about Robert Moses here in D.C.
Explain who Robert Moses was.
Robert Moses was the decades-long Parks Commissioner in New York City. Yeah. And he was a radical, revolutionary urban planner.
And he was arguably the most powerful city official in terms of how
for years, for decades. Reshaped neighborhoods. My father's neighborhood on Webster Avenue in the Bronx was torn apart because of he put in the Cross Bronx Expressway. But here's the thing. You hear this from the left about racist roads.
Yes.
Robert Moses made it so he put parkways out to the mountains and to the beaches. But not public transportation.
Yes.
Because he wanted these areas to be reserved for the elites.
Yes, of course.
And the automobile, of course, destroyed that because poor people in the old days, at least 30 years ago, could afford a car. But the elites don't like it when the working class show up on their beaches, show up in their country fairs, right?
And emblematic of this, for instance, is what's going on in the national park system, right? You take it writ large,
right?
So places like Yosemite National Park, which are within driving distance of most of the poor Latino population in California, they've put there are limits on the number of cars that can go into Yosemite Valley and then up into the mountains, and they want people to take buses in, and that's the whole idea is to discourage the day trip.
This idea of expanding public transportation, the idea of limiting roads, this is a mechanism to control people. And I know this sounds like we're a dystopian conspiracy theory, but this has always been an idea of the left. Look, you can see it on Facebook and social media. There's commercials for it, right? This Mideast company, that is talking about condensing cities.
Oh yeah,
have you seen this?
They're making it. They were going to make them very long but very narrow cities. Yeah,
right. Yeah. And again, this has a lot to do about control and power. I asked Andrew. I've been going through this recently, where Joe Biden will say, there is no inflation, it's flat. Or
it's only gone up an inch, man.
Or
I know it's bad.
Or Kamala Harris will say that the border is secure. And I say to myself, they are saying something that is demonstrably wrong.
Yes.
But yet it's accepted and it's promoted, and fact checkers will go back and fact check them as mostly correct.
Yes.
Dr. Fauci and Senator Rand Paul had a go at it recently where Fauci said his own words didn't mean what his own words meant.
Yes.
But here's my point. When you speak the untruth over and over and over and over again, your brain has this capacity. It's called neuroplasticity.
Plasticity.
Say the word for me.
Neuroplasticity.
You know what this is?
Yes.
It's when you literally wire or rewire your brain either to believe what's right, or in many instances to believe what's wrong.
Right.
It's kind of like the analogy I would use, or the metaphor I would use, is think about getting a machete and going through a deep forest.
Yeah.
The first time you make your path, it's very difficult. Second time, a little less. Third time, by the time you've done it 100 times, it's a clear path.
Hey, do me a favor. Let's pause it there, because I want to make sure that we're getting the right video feed here. So let me just, I'm going to stop this and make sure. Well, I'm gonna just ignore the fact that actually I'm going to call it the fact that we've abandoned the video portion of the show.
Well, but you're in luck if you're on Rumble or YouTube. You're going to see a nice picture of us here in the Hillsdale studios.
The Boyle Studios at Hillsdale College. Okay, you were talking about neuroplasticity. We're talking about traffic, because there's a point that I wanted to make.
But here's the bottom line, and that is, I've been asking myself, how can so many in our public discourse believe and repeat what we know to be untrue? And it's because if you say it, if you believe it, if this becomes part of your thought, therefore your actions, it becomes who you are. The left believes wrong ideas, which is why the only way to confront the left is with right or correct or true ideas, which is why the left doesn't like the idea of truth.
Sure. And so it's funny, because I got into this with a guy over the weekend on Twitter. He posted a chart, someone who is very into urban planning in a big way, and talking about bikes versus cars versus buses versus light rail. And he posted a statistic which essentially said that bicycles were like 14 times more efficient at moving people.
Let me tell you why it's not true.
Okay.
And there's science behind this.
This is what I wanted to get to. I immediately said to this guy, where is this from? Because this does not seem accurate to me.
Now, listen, trust but verify.
Yes.
For our audience, Peter Huber, who has passed away, one of the most brilliant minds ever in law, in interpretation and research. He was for the longest time a senior scholar at the Manhattan Institute.
Yes.
I think he is the most quoted expert in Supreme Court decisions.
Okay, that's interesting.
So this is a brilliant.
I don't know
man.
how you measure that, but okay.
Peter Huber, by just regardless,
sure.
He's a smart guy. Yeah. Okay. He did a study years and years ago where it was a man and a man who lived equal distance from their work.
Yes.
And one drove, and one rode his bike.
Yes.
And everyone assumed that the person who rode the bike used up less resources.
Yes.
Was less of a less carbon imprint or footprint on the environment. It turned out not to be true.
Okay.
The bike rider had to take more showers, use more detergent. He ate more food, and also where he stored his bike and all the rest of it. But my point is, a lot of these assumptions about bikes, about public transportation, are just that. They're assumptions to push a political point of view.
Well, this is what got to me, is that I'm looking at this, and he's talking about efficiency. The guy who was promoting this in the chart that they said, and I did one simple Google search. But it was one of those things where I'm sort of doing math in my head about throughput, and even if you assume, right, that it's the same number of vehicles traveling on the road, a car can move, a standard 4-door sedan can carry 5 people at a time,
Right.
faster and easier than a bike. But also, it gets
maybe
hold on.
rickshaws.
Yes, or one of those 5-people bikes.
Oh, yeah. Like in Cape May.
But this is my point, though, also, is that it gets back to what you're talking about the elites, right? It's the elites who can go out and buy the high-end bikes. This guy was advocating for electric bikes. He wanted more people to get electric bikes, which is a huge
How do you bring your child to school on an electric bike?
Well, yes, especially as they get older and bigger. There's that aspect of it, but it's also, again, you're working a blue collar job. You are in the custodial services, or you're doing something that is menial.
You work 8 hours with your hands, with your body, and you want to, at the end of the day, do you want to get on a bus or on a bike, or do you want to get in your car and go home?
That's exactly right. And then again, right, what if you need to make stops and run errands because you're working during the day and you don't get exactly.
Or the children need something for school the next day.
Right.
This has happened to me this morning. So I drove in this morning with Bridget.
Yes.
Bridget's working downtown, dropped her off, came here. By the way, because of bike lanes and scooters and all of the policies to make this city more bike friendly, it took me twice as long to get here in my car.
That's right.
Which again isn't efficient. But regardless, we're
more polluting.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we're driving here this morning, and we're on the Clara Barton Parkway.
Yes.
Parkway.
Yes.
All right.
Remember, you park in a driveway. You drive on a
This
parkway.
This is a highway.
Yeah.
And there is a traffic jam where there shouldn't be, and I thought, there's an accident.
No.
What it was? There was a bike. There was a bike. There was someone on his bike
regular lane
with his helmet and all his gear and the lights. He was literally not to the side or in the middle. He was in the middle of a lane.
Yeah.
On a highway.
Yes.
Right? And causing all kinds of jam ups. And I drove by and I thought to myself, this is the hubris. This is the arrogance of the left.
Right.
That is some vegan eating, latte drinking, almond milk
I
drinking.
wish your daughter
liberal.
had taken a video of this, because you're absolutely correct. It is emblematic of everything that is wrong for the left.
Yeah,
right. It is a matter of I'm going to do.
And that person believed he was morally superior.
That's right. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm morally superior, so I'm going to take up the middle lane. I'm going to hold everybody else up.
Right.
I'm going to make you go at my speed to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
There really is a deep and abiding metaphor there. So let's shift gears here. President goes on 60 Minutes. We got to talk about this.
Well,
we
again,
knew it was going to be a disaster.
He was asked, but why isn't it more of a disaster? He was asked about inflation, and instead of coming clean and saying, "My goodness, 8.3% is too high. Groceries and food bills are too high," he says that it's essentially flat. Well, if it's flat, but it's flat at 8.3%, 8.3% is horrible.
And more to the point is that he does actually, Scott Pelley does press him on this. That was a softball interview for the most part.
But there should have been follow-ups in the Washington Post, in Politico, in the New York Times, all the cable shows.
He's asked the president, but Mr. President, people are suffering. I know, man. I know. No, you don't. And this is what gets me, right? Because we are
he's
now,
given a pass.
We are less than 50 days out from the midterm elections. The numbers are the polling numbers are shifting all the time. Like the both houses of Congress are very much up for grabs in a way that they shouldn't be.
No.
The White House, the administration is dangerously drawing down the strategic petroleum reserves. God forbid we actually have some kind of an emergency where we need that petroleum.
Even still, the gas station, we're in Washington, D.C. I understand D.C. cities, because of how gas is delivered and such, it's going to be higher priced. But the gas station, literally across the street, diagonal to where we are right now, 87 gas, unleaded gas, is $4.50 a gallon.
Sure, yes.
Okay, that is not good.
Right.
That is not, look, it's coming down. Paying $4.50 in September 2022 is an outrageous price. What bothers me, though, is the pass that these folks are given.
Sure.
And even from still you have guys like Bill Kristol, promoting this president.
Yes.
And others, other Republicans promoting this president. Where is Larry Hogan?
Well,
Larry Hogan, you couldn't keep away from a camera during the Trump years. We have a president who has weaponized the FBI. He has politicized the DOJ. He has made secret deals and conversations to censor people in big tech.
Right.
Where's the outrage?
Yes, where are the civil libertarians?
Yeah.
Not the libertarian, but where's the progressive sort of civil libertarian folks?
Where are
on
the
this?
never
And
Trumpers?
isn't it astounding?
How is this better?
Well, time out for a second, because to his credit, it's fascinating to me that Larry Summers was out there. So one of a Democrat economic advisor out there saying, I don't understand why they're not talking about pipelines, especially right in light of, and you and I didn't get a chance to talk about this last week. The slow walking of the train strike story.
Sure.
Right. So it gets to exactly what you're saying about the past.
We'll explain this real quick. So Andrew and I were amazed recently that the rail strike wasn't big news leading up.
Let's take it. Let's take a step back. So last Tuesday and Wednesday we get notice that that there's this impending rail strike that is going to completely upend our supply chain once again. Right, and this is something that has been coming for months, and yet nobody's been talking about it.
And how I found out about it was again, my Bridget is going up to Connecticut for a music festival and wanted to get Amtrak and couldn't get Amtrak tickets because they were canceling. They were either canceling or ticket prices.
And I heard about it the same way because there was a William and Mary parents group, and somebody was saying, "I'm trying to come down for parents."
So a major potential strike that would cripple the economy. And the news media literally never reported on it.
And let's talk about the why for a moment and why this is important and why it's important in terms of the context of the election. So one of the things is this administration has made a conscious decision. In addition to moving us away from the use of oil generally, but also what they don't want to do is they don't want to transport oil. So they've canceled pipeline projects around the country, curtailed pipeline projects around the country, which is the cheapest and safest way.
And most environmentally safe way to do
it. Way to move oil and natural gas from the point of extraction to the point of refinement, et cetera. And so the alternatives are, well, the next most efficient way to do it is by train. And then the next and the least efficient way to do it, would be by horse and buggy. But the next least efficient way to do it by truck. And so they've canceled the pipelines. This gets into my problem with the Strategic Petroleum Reserve situation. They've canceled the pipelines, so that we were looking at a situation in which that we were not going to be able to truck or train, transport the oil and natural gas by train. And so then we would be left with relying on trucks, which is, by the way, part of what they want. I don't know why I'm looking at the camera, Jerry, because the camera's off. But I am, because I'm playing to the camera. But this is exactly it. It gets down to, they make these choices. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve should not be drawn down except in case of natural crisis.
Why? The why is that for many Americans, politics, again, is religion. Emblematic of this?
Yeah.
On Facebook recently, a friend of mine posted that the cost of energy, their energy cost this summer through the roof, grocery bills, and another friend responded and said, "Well, it's for the good. It's for our children. Our grandchildren need clean air, and people won't change their behavior, so the government has to force them to change their behavior." Now, never mind the tyrannical idea of that, but according to the science, it's just not true. This same person will wear clothing made in China. Will buy products made in China. China is the number one polluter in the world. Yet there are no treaties, no agreements, no conversations about holding China accountable. And the thing is that
it's a whole neuroplasticity thing, Jerry.
But also going back just to the truth. The fact is, We don't have the grid, the technology. We don't have the capacity to capture energy, solar energy, wind energy to electrify the United States. We don't. It doesn't happen.
Right. We can't meet the energy demands that we have now, let alone the 3 to 5 times as much electricity as we need.
And also, folks, the electric battery in your EV, all of you rich folks who can afford an electrical vehicle, it doesn't create energy. The battery doesn't create energy.
Right.
The battery stores energy. The energy comes from fossil fuels.
And let's also not forget the massive environmental and societal impacts, the sociological impacts to get the rare earth materials needed for
my goodness.
batteries.
Again, and bottom line is this. In their face, California just recently said, stop charging your vehicles because the grid can't handle it.
Well, I want to turn around something, because something was brought to my attention last week that I hadn't thought of, and I consider myself frankly, I'm going to say this, a deep thinker on these issues. Someone called into, when I was subbing in for John Justice, called in to talk about the issue of oil and getting us off of and the left's impulse to get us away from petroleum for energy or other fossil fuels for energy. He said, Andrew, here's the problem. You have to refine oil for other things that we need.
Yes.
You can't for windmills, you need really good lubricant products. For other kinds of machinery and manufacturing, you need lubrication products that, frankly, vegetable lubricants can't do.
For medical supplies.
Medical supplies and feedstock for fertilizer and all those things. Once you crack the petroleum hydrocarbon elements, right, the molecules there, you're going to get gasoline and you're going to get other kinds of distillates that are out there. What are you going to do with it?
Right.
Do you remember, and this is the thing that I pointed out to this caller, I told the story on there because John's producer, Robbie, is from New York as well. Remember when you would drive down the New Jersey Turnpike in New Jersey, and you would see alongside various oil refineries, when they still really had refining capacity in New Jersey, and you would see the stacks where they were burning off the excess natural gas and other kinds of gas products, which is waste. That's essentially what they want to do. The stuff is either going to get landfilled or it's going to get burned.
And also for my friends, healthcare is a very big issue. If you look at the polling data among Democrats, healthcare polls high. It's top 5 issue. And the cost of healthcare, right? This Inflation Reduction Act, the Inflation Reduction Act claims to bring pharma under control and prices will come down. It's not true. We can get into why it's not true. It's a lie. But what's worse, though, is you see the elites talk about plastic as if it's this evil entity. War on plastic. I was watching a video of Limp Bizkit.
Yes.
And they were, plastic.
Sure.
And I'm thinking to myself, I have a special needs nephew, and a lot of his health equipment is plastic.
Sure, of course it is.
And the costs are already so high.
Yeah.
And if you war on a product, what did Fred Smith from CEI teach us? If you can say this product is evil, you can make it a pariah.
Sure.
You can regulate it, tax it. And what does that do to our healthcare system?
Right.
What does that do to special needs children who need these plastics?
Right.
And again, it's. I remember again talking to one of my students, one of my ball players once, talking about how plastic was so bad. We should get rid of these plastics. And I'm like, but all these other things. And that's the simplicity of, and also the danger of allowing religion to become your politics.
All right, so let me shift gears here, get away from plastics and plasticizers and energy to talk about
and
the other
neuroplasticity.
Right. The other aspect of the faith of the left and how their minds were blown. So last week we get the story of I got to admit I don't understand the mechanics of this.
Okay.
I guess the governor of Florida negotiated with the governor of Texas to pay illegal migrants who came into Texas for them to fly north to Martha's Vineyard. The left exploded. My favorite now part of this whole story is the Democratic elected sheriff of Bexar County. spelled Bexar, Bexar County, the county of San Antonio. The sheriff of San Antonio is now going to criminally investigate the governor of Florida.
I know.
And which is astounding to me. He's like, well, I don't know what laws are broken. I don't know if any laws are, but I'm going to investigate him
anyway.
I'm going to investigate him anyway. Setting aside the fact that under the principles of federalism,
we have our man, we have to find the
right,
crime.
Show me the man, I'll show you the crime.
Yeah.
This is Lavrenti Beria stuff.
Yeah.
But it's also the issue of he's a county sheriff, right? He can enforce county law, and I guess he may be duly elected to enforce state law. But if he can't get deputized and co-opted to enforce federal immigration law because of federalism, then he can't investigate the criminal act, the violation of federal. Yes, of course.
It's the law doesn't matter. Look, there is again, not to change the topic, but just
we're
to
changing
feed
the
on
topic.
this.
It's fine.
But there is the president of the United States declared his student loan forgiveness executive
God,
order.
We've got to talk about the pandemic being over.
But here's the thing about that. He had no authority to do it. It's illegal. But now all of these federal loan, the companies that issue and maintain these federal loans are in all kinds of disarray.
Right.
Because they don't understand the qualifying rules.
Right.
And so the administration is saying that in order to qualify for forgiveness, you have to solidify your loans, but these loan servicers don't yet have the capacity to combine these loans. And what's happening is the whole system, there's a monkey wrench thrown into the system.
No, I get it.
But again, it goes to show you what happens when you don't follow the law, when your good intention or what you want takes precedent over the law and over what
I
needs
saw
to
a
get
story
done.
last night on, again, well-intentioned policies bumping up against very realities. I saw a story on the news last night here in D.C., because we're in D.C., we're at the Boyle Studios at Hillsdale College, by the way, of a family buys, or a couple buys a house, a townhouse. The townhouse has a tenant living in it. And that was part of the deal is, you are responsible, you the buyer are responsible for evicting the tenant. Now, in order to evict the tenant, you have to become an official landlord, right? Even when you buy this house, it doesn't automatically pass, which means you have to get a business license, which means you have to get an inspection of the premises. And if the tenant won't allow the home inspector in to inspect the premises, then you're caught up in this massive catch-22.
I'm going to give you a personal story.
Okay, please.
All right. So my registration on both my vehicles
I love this.
Is suspended. And it was suspended because, it didn't have to be suspended.
Time out for a second. Let's say it may have been suspended. Let's not.
Well, all right. The bottom line is,
maybe driving
there
registration.
was a red flag. It was because of unpaid tickets.
Yes, I've been there.
And so I went and I paid the tickets. I paid the red flag fine, and everything is okay.
Yes.
However, because of COVID and because we're not at full function yet, the state of Maryland Finance Office has yet to remove the tickets from my record.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this has been now weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
Now, because it's been weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, yes, now my registration is suspended. It wasn't suspended before.
Yes.
Guess what? I still can't get the tickets off.
Sure.
Even though I've paid the fines, I cannot get the tickets off my record. And here's the thing. I email, no response. I leave messages, no response. It literally has been months.
Right, let me tell you what not to do.
And I can't do it.
Don't do what the guy did in New York at McDonald's and show up with a hand axe. Please don't do that.
But my point is that
and by the way, I'm someone who's almost been thrown out of a DMV in Virginia.
This is an example of the government just causing chaos. And in this case, right, the president said in 60 Minutes, the COVID pandemic is
Pandemic's over.
Well, yet I still can't get these tickets removed.
That's exactly right. Yes.
Because of the COVID restrictions and protocols going on.
That's right.
It's outrageous.
But to bring it back though to this. So what was your take? I mean, I think regardless of how it happens.
Oh, DeSantis!
The DeSantis thing was brilliant.
Look, it was brilliant. I know there are some on the right, never Trumpers, who think this was a stunt.
Done this.
Here, it shows the hierarchy, the hypocrisy. The left can do what they want. We can't do what we want. You had so many saying that DeSantis is guilty of trafficking. He's guilty of of kidnapping. And what I don't understand is that we know that nearly 1,000 migrants have died at the border this year alone. We know that there is sex trafficking at the border right now. We know that fentanyl and drugs are coming through right now. And so you're going to go crazy over DeSantis, over 50 migrants to Martha's Vineyard, and yet you're going to keep a blind eye to what's happening at the border.
The latest story and the latest lie, which is being spread, is that DeSantis handed the whoever did this, that DeSantis was behind it, handed the immigrants fake pamphlets describing the services, lying about the services that were going to be available to them should they go to Massachusetts, and it's again, let me tell the truth about this.
So they don't have. I'm sorry, they don't have services in Martha's Vineyard.
No. This is the problem with the story. They have services in Massachusetts. The pamphlets were created with texts from the Massachusetts Department of Social Welfare, whoever deals with immigration issues, and the services available for immigrants, whether or not they're refugees or asylum seekers or what have you. And they literally, whoever created this pamphlet just copied and pasted from the text from the website and then added a web link. But yet this is considered to be a fake pamphlet because they created it.
You take literally what is available and you reprint it, but it's not true. This is, again, the words don't matter. Look, I got into Game of Thrones. And there's a line, or there's a sequence in season 7 where Jon Snow is to bend the knee to the evil queen in Queen's Landing, or King's Landing rather, if she's to give her army to fight the Night Walkers. It's neither here nor there. But he says this. He says, and they're angry with him because he says, "No, I won't bend the knee to you." And they're angry with him because they want him to lie to get this army.
Right.
And he says, I can't lie, because then if we keep lying, then words lose their meaning.
Exactly.
And that's exactly where we are. Words have lost their meaning. Let me tell you this.
Please.
And we're driving through D.C., driving through Potomac, Maryland, driving through Martha's Vineyard. You'll see these woke lawn signs. We believe here that love is love, that no
human is illegal.
No human is illegal. And I've seen lawn signs that say migrants welcomed here.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, again,
God forbid one of them shows up.
And at Martha's Vineyard, you can go around all of these elitist, woke progressives with their migrants are welcomed here. But then when 50 of them showed up,
right, it's a crisis.
They called in the National Guard.
It's a humanitarian crisis within 48 hours that they're gone. But hey, Jerry, some guy spent $100 at the local Martha's Vineyard candy shop for candy for the migrants.
Again, the next time you see that, or if you're listening and you have one of those woke signs in front of your house, it's nonsense, and you're a liar, because if a migrant showed up at your door, you would not welcome him in. And also, I want to say this too about this idea of love is love and all the rest of it. Someone said this, and I'm gonna, I'll claim it as my own. The problem isn't that we love. The problem isn't that we celebrate. The problem is that we love and celebrate the wrong things.
Sure.
That's we've lost any kind of idea that there's a right way to live and a wrong way to live.
You got all these books, but they're the wrong books. That's from Good Will Hunting.
Yes.
No, I get it. Listen, let me shift gears for a second because we're winding down. You got stuff to do. My parking's gonna expire. I don't want to get a ticket. Number one, have you watched any of She-Hulk?
No.
Are you not gonna watch She?
I haven't watched it yet.
We started watching Miss Marvel.
Oh, I love that show.
Miss Marvel. The one with the...
Oh, no. I'm thinking the Marvelous Miss Maisel. No, I'm watching that. I watched that.
Miss Marvel on... It's also pretty good.
Yeah, let me tell you something. I've kind of given up on Marvel.
No, don't.
I've kind of given up on Marvel.
This is better than a couple of the series that were in there that we just couldn't get into. This is better than the Eternals. It's good stuff. So go check that out. Okay. Arthur Avenue.
The Elvis movie, by the way. Fantastic.
I think we're going to watch that this week.
Fantastic. It's a 3-hour movie?
Something like that.
If like that.
Okay, good to know.
It was a snack.
All right.
And also, like my older family watched it.
Oh, good.
And no one turned it off. No one left the room.
Do they show him going to Denver to get the gold brick loaf? Because that's what I want to see. The gold brick loaf, which is a football-sized loaf of bread cut into 3 layers, of which they layered peanut butter, jelly, and bacon.
It does capture Elvis and his, many of us, because we weren't alive when Elvis was Elvis, we don't get how big Elvis.
Do they have the scene where he shows up at McCarran Airport to get Hamburger James off the airplane, and he waves his DEA badge and says, "Hold that plane, I'm a federal agent"? No? Okay. Arthur Avenue. Because I just realized, so we're going to do this quick jaunt to New York.
Yes.
We're going to, for a couple of things.
Arthur Avenue, by the way, is the real Little Italy of New York. It is in the Bronx. It's adjacent to the Bronx Zoo, the Botanical Garden, and the Fordham University.
So I have to be we have to be in New York for some things. We're going to go to Fieldston Homecoming next week.
Yes.
Next Saturday. So we're going to be in the Bronx anyway. And I'm like, you know something? Let's go to Arthur Avenue for dinner. So where should we go?
Well, if you want family style, you got to go to Dominic's.
Okay.
Now, Dominic's, folks, the last time I was there was a lot of us. It was my family, my sister's family, my parents, and others. And it's picnic style. So you're at a big table.
Okay.
And you could be with other people.
That's fine. I don't mind that.
And there's no menus.
Okay.
And you order whatever you want.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
All right, but how will my wife know what? Like, I know what I would want. I would want some kind of veal milanese. And
she has to think about it before you go. You got to think. Right. My father had ordered chicken cacciatore. The kids ordered Parmesan chicken. I ordered whatever, and he doesn't write anything down either.
All right. Yeah.
Right. Comes back. Everything is in large platters.
All right. So my wife and I need to split something.
All right,
is
and
what you're saying.
It's put out there, and then you can get wine.
Got it.
But I'm not sure if it has a liquor license, but you can
I don't know.
wine. You get some wine there.
Right. We don't know if Jerry's car registration is suspended.
At the end, the guy comes back and says, "How about you pay me $200?"
All right, there you go.
It's cash only.
It's cash only. That's the important
now,
thing.
that's family style, good eats. That's Dominic's. Also, again, there's
Jerry's mouth is watering.
Really, Roberto's.
Okay.
Is up Arthur Avenue on Crescent.
All right.
And might be the best restaurant in all of New York.
All right. Roberto's.
A little different. A lot of these places are cash only.
That's good to know.
There's Mario's. Mario's, if you want traditional Italian food.
Sure.
Mario's. After I proposed to Erica, we went to Mario's for dinner. It's still one of the great places there. You can't go wrong. There's restaurant after restaurant after restaurant.
I think that's what we'll do.
It's the greatest place to eat in New York.
Because I know my wife does not want me to say, once again, that we should go to Liebman's Deli on Riverdale Avenue or Johnson Avenue in Riverdale.
Go to Arthur Avenue.
Arthur Avenue, I think, is the place
Roberto's
to go.
is smaller. It's more quaint. I think it only has like 14 tables.
When you go to Arthur Avenue, Jerry, it makes you want to plant your feet. Sorry.
Well, I mean, if you're going to be in Arthur Avenue, too, you might as well go and visit quickly the Bronx Zoo or the Botanical Garden. You used to be able to walk on Fordham's campus. It's beautiful.
No, I know.
And there's all kinds of there's parking there.
I actually thought we might do the Botanical Garden because
you can drive. There's parking, Arthur Avenue parking.
Yeah.
So and there's all kinds of little Egidio's pastry. You have to go to a pastry shop. Don't get dessert.
Course.
Wherever you eat dinner or lunch, don't have dessert.
No, it'll
go
be,
to one of the pastry shops.
It'll be an early dinner, and we'll go to the pastry shop because we're going to.
All kinds of places. Also, if you get there early before you eat dinner, there's all kinds of there's butchers and vegetable stands, all the rest of it.
We sort of poke around Arthur
bread
Avenue
stores.
A little bit.
There's bread stores.
Get some bread. All right, Jerry.
Fantastic. Hey, listen,
so Sunday, if it's Sundays, it must be Jerry.
Sunday, it's Jerry. Hey, listen, on the Jerry Rogers Show on WBAL, we're doing some different things. We have the Jerry's Just Right segment, which is good fun. And also, we're going to have new bumper music for the Liberty Update.
Nice.
And also, we're shifting gears a little bit too. We a lot of politics, a lot of history, a lot of what's happening in Baltimore City, but cities across the country. But I'm also, we need to talk more about basic truths.
Yeah.
And so we're going to do more of that. It's going to be more of kind of like Jerry Rogers, higher thinking, how to capture the truth and promote the truth.
And so you all know I can say this now because I haven't said it here. I've said it on John's show a couple times now already. So I'm now, in addition to doing this show, the folks at Federal Newswire have asked me to host a once-a-week podcast.
Excellent.
Called the Lunch Hour, the Federal Newswire Lunch Hour.
I like that, Lunch Hour.
Thank you. Yeah, and I need a good sign off for there. once a week interviewing members of Congress or heavy hitters or thinkers or former administration officials, current administration officials. So check that out. The links will go up on the Andrew Langer Show page, Andrew and Jerry Save the World as well. Jerry, what do you want people to do?
Find the truth, plant your feet, and stand firm.
Have a great week, everybody. Have fun, and please stay safe.